Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new episode of Formula One 2019 Career Mode. Today we go to the German Grand Prix, a track I enjoy a lot, so we're going to cut straight to qualifying for this one. We made it only into Q2 this time, unfortunately, not continuing the streak of making it to Q3. Now is just the last bit of my Q2 lap there as we come to the penultimate corner, running a little bit wide there as we came through the last corner, heading down the front straightaway, activating the DRS to cross the line, going P11 at the moment, but unfortunately we would fall down all the way to the 15th position, so hopefully we can run better here for the German Grand Prix now as we get to race time.
Good afternoon and welcome to a place that is very special to us all in the Formula One community. It's the Hockenheim Ring, home of the German Grand Prix. Always good for a close scrap is Hockenheim. Think back to Alonso, Ricciardo, Vettel as recently as 2014, and I'm expecting some more strong racing today. With average lap speeds of around 130 miles per hour, the Hockenheim Ring is a quick circuit with a lap distance of 2.8 miles, around 17 corners. The main DRS zone through Parabolica leads into the hairpin for the best overtaking opportunity on the track. Anthony Davidson, thanks for joining me once again for the Grand Prix. Now, I want to ask you about Lando Norris. As with all the drivers at this level, they have a lot of ambition, but Formula One's a daunting step up from any other series, so expectations are high right from the start.
That's right, it is a difficult environment to come into. In junior categories, you're competing against drivers with similar levels of experience, but some of these guys in Formula One have been there for over a decade. But I have to say, in this case, it's so far so good.
Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Valtteri Bottas lines up on pole position, and starting alongside in P2 is Sebastian Vettel. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Leclerc, Lando Norris, and Perez, Weber, Sainz, Raikkonen, and Roman Grosjean. Hamilton, Kvyat, Alexander Albon, the Rainmaster, Ricciardo, Gasly, they've taken a grid penalty, Antonio Giovinazzi, and Devon Butler. Russell and Robert Kubica takes the last spot on the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track.
Okay, be wary of the cars ahead braking suddenly into one. We could ruin our race if we hit them. Good luck.
Alright, we're ready to get going here for the German Grand Prix, one of the tracks that I really enjoy on the Formula One schedule, so hopefully we can have a solid run here in Germany, as there is a bit of a glitch there with a freeze in the game as we get ready to get this formation lap underway, going from P14 obviously to gain a position due to some grid penalties. Obviously, so hopefully we can finish inside the points here in Germany as we would come back around the track and getting ready now to go green for the German Grand Prix from the 14th starting position. Lewis Hamilton got a grid penalty starting P11 now as this lights out. We are underway now for the German Grand Prix. Valtteri Bottas leads the way as we have a lot of oversteer on the start now as we go 3 wide down towards turns 1, barely touching the back of Pierre Gasly as we do not pick up any wing damage, thankfully, but yeah, I didn't show a cinematic camera of the start because midway through this race my game crashed. Thankfully, I had a mid-session save, literally 20 seconds maybe before the game crashed. So I got very lucky now as we go up the left-hand side of Gasly, being very aggressive on this opening lap now as we head down the straightaway. Daniel Ricciardo and Gasly battle out side by side. Now as Gasly's running about where he should be in that Red Bull car finally now as we go down towards the hairpin. And I did forget to change an engine part coming into this race, and it's almost up to like 70%, I think. It was, but it's something to do with like the ERS recharging, I think, if I remember correctly, so it wasn't a big deal there as we do have quite a bit of extra fuel. I forgot to take some fuel out of the car again, but thankfully it's not as bad this time as usual. But not a bad start here in the German Grand Prix. Our teammate Roman Grosjean out-qualified us, and he is currently obviously running better than us. Can he finally get ahead? Obviously, we beat him quite a bit here recently, as it's starting to seem like we're making a statement that we deserve to be driver number 1 on this team for the last half of the season. Obviously, we have a contract coming up at the end of the Hungarian Grand Prix, so if we can beat Grosjean today, and in the next episode, I will 100% be going for driver number 1 on our next contract as we came through to complete the first lap here behind Alexander Albon there in the Toro Rosso now as we come out of turn 1, going a little bit wide. But now as we came to lap 3, still behind Albon as we went down into turns 1. DRS obviously activated. Pierre Gasly on the sub tire right behind me. So I decide, okay, we're going to give him a break, and I brake early to let Gasly have the position, obviously, in a much faster car than what we have here with Haas. Now, as we fall down to P15, I wasn't too concerned because I know we still have the pace in this car. That I was pretty confident that we could still get up to a points-paying position as Gasly would go to the right-hand side there of Albon as we close in on the back of them, but really not in a position to really make a move on any of them now as Albon tries to battle back on the left-hand side of Gasly as they come through out of the hairpin side by side, but Gasly has the acceleration to get clear of Albon now as we head down into the little right bend right on Albon's gearbox. We've been behind him for a few laps now. We send it up the inside too, but we lock up a little bit there, but we do get clear of Albon and take over the 14th position, almost actually sliding into the back of Gasly, but thankfully we do not have that happen, and now we take P14 away from Albon here. Now as we came through on lap 7, now still up in about 13th now as we had actually gone past Daniel Kvyat, I think it was. Now as it came down through the hairpin, trying to close up on the back of Carlos Sainz here, as he was certainly not quite as fast as we were, so we were able to get close to him as we came through the little right bend. So certainly picking up the pace as the laps went on. It felt a lot more comfortable as we put more laps on this car. The start of the race, I didn't quite feel connected with the car like I needed to, but now at this point we were really starting to feel it out and start to get a rhythm going once again now as we come down through one of my favorite corners on the Formula One schedule. And Pierre Gasly was actually struggling quite a bit to get through traffic. He had only gotten up to our teammate Roman Grosjean, which is going through the final corner right now as Carlos Sainz. He would come off into the pit lane there, so we would move up into the 12th position at this point. Now as you came through on lap 10, other drivers up front had made their pit stops, including Max Verstappen, who had gotten past me already now, as Charles Leclerc has gotten to the back of me as well, and Vettel, who had both pitted. So I move out of the way for both of them, letting them go past. Obviously, there's no point in holding them up in a Ferrari. Hopefully, we're on that team next season if we impress them enough in the final half of the season. I don't think our rep is high enough to be on Ferrari right now, but hopefully by the end of the season that changes. Now, as we came to lap 11, you see Vettel and Leclerc working their way through Gasly and Grosjean. Grosjean was kind of being like a roadblock in this race right now as we come through into the hairpin right on the back of these guys, as Vettel was struggling quite a bit to get past our teammate of Roman Grosjean now as we head down in through to the right bend. Vettel with a fast car, obviously, and Red Bull has actually overtaken Ferrari. I need to mention that Red Bull overtook Ferrari coming into this episode in the R&D stuff. So now Red Bull is team number 2 to Mercedes, I think it was. So now as we go down through the right-hander, still just a little bit behind Vettel, but obviously we have run down our teammate Roman Grosjean at this point. Now as we came to turn 1, now we have a chance to pass Grosjean, who got pushed a little bit wide there from Vettel on lap 12, and we take over the position now from Roman Grosjean. So back ahead of our teammate now as we get a little bit of oversteer on the exit of the corner, a lot of oversteer. We go wide there on the curb, and that's going to allow Grosjean to battle back as we head down the straightaway, and Daniel Kvyat, he's going to get into this as well, and Albon lurking behind now as we head down the long straightaway towards the hairpin. Albon going to make it 3 wide with his teammate of Kvyat and Roman Grosjean now as we go down into the hairpin. Thankfully, we're just barely ahead of that mess now as Grosjean did stick his nose up the inside, but we stay clear and now hold on to the 6th position at this point. Getting ready though to make our pit stop soon. Now as we came through on lap 15, we had gotten to the back of Kimi Räikkönen as we go down the straightaway with DRS activation, trying to close in on the back of him as we went down the long straightaway, but not quite able to get right to the back of Räikkönen to the point where we could make a move. So now as we came to the end of lap 15, getting ready to make our first and hopefully only pit stop of the day now as we go down into the right-hander, heading down towards the pit lane, going to put on the hard tire here, so hopefully that will take us to the end with no issues at all as we get ready to make our pit stop. We've been in the high 2 seconds or close to 3 seconds most of this season with pit stops, and it would be pretty similar again there as we would exit our pit box now as we do have Toro Rosso also coming into the pit lane. It was a 2.9-second pit stop as that was Kvyat who joined me in the pit lane now as we exit out of the pit lane back on to the racing track now in the 17th position. And I was confident we would at least cycle back out, maybe just inside the top 10. I was hoping for. Now as we came through a lap later, at the end of lap 16, a bunch of cars pitting, including our teammate of Roman Grosjean there as we come through turns 1. Now moving up into P13 behind Kimi Räikkönen, who came out with a little bit more of a gap than what we came in now. As we came through on lap 18, we had gotten to the back of Perez now, and now we make a move to the right-hand side of him as we go down the straightaway with the DRS activated, and now we're going to move up into the 11th position here in the German Grand Prix. Kimi Räikkönen holding on to the last point-paying position at this point as we come through the the exit now of the hairpin, and as it came through on lap 21, we had moved up into P10 due to a McLaren pitting, and then George Russell would actually DNF from this race with a mechanical issue. Now as we came through into the penultimate corner, heading down towards the last corner, running up inside the top 10, obviously at this point after a McLaren came to pit lane. I think it was Carlos Sainz that pitted because it looked like Lando Norris's helmet there up ahead of us now as we sit P10 on lap 23. There was rain on the way, like you heard from Jeff there. Rain was coming within the final laps of this race as we hit 10 to go. Norris now has fallen down to 9th as Raikkonen has gotten past him, so they started to scrap it out. Norris got back in front of Raikkonen, so like I said, they were scrapping it out on lap 26 now at this point. Less than 10 to go. We were closing in on them, obviously, as they continued to battle now as we go down into the hairpin on lap 29 at this point. Just 6 to go. They continue to battle side by side, and we would get right up into this battle eventually as we came through another lap later on lap 30, continuing to go at it now as we join the party as we go down the straightaway with DRS passing Norris, and now we go down the straightaway. We're going to try and pass Kimi Räikkönen as well as we go down into the hairpin. Now up into the 8th position here with 5 laps to go, and Kimi Räikkönen actually would end up having a mechanical issue. It didn't take him out of the race, but he was losing pace quickly, where Norris, he would get past him, and we would both start driving away from Räikkönen as we came to lap 32, just 3 to go. At this point, a lot of oversteer on the exit of turn 1. Thankfully, we keep it out of the sand pit now as we head down towards the second corner. So now the rain starts falling, you see on the screen, so that's going to create a little bit of slippery conditions at this point, but now Räikkönen was really falling off the pace as we were approaching 2 laps to go at this point. Norris sticking with me as he's certainly showing some speed here in the final laps now, as the track really wasn't getting damp enough to really mess up the conditions, so it was just as hard as I could to the end now as we come through down the straightaway. Norris putting the pressure on as we go down the straightaway. He's going to look up the left-hand side with help from the DRS, and he blows right on past me like I was just standing still now as we go down into the hairpin with a lap and a half or so to go at this point. Räikkönen way too far back to make anything happen with the issues that he was having late here in the German Grand Prix. Now as came through to start this final lap, still within range of Norris. DRS still activated now as the conditions were still good enough there to go a little bit wide on the exit of turn 1, doing whatever I can to close in on Norris. Grosjean had to actually pass Räikkönen as well and moved up into 10th to get at least 1 point now as we come through the left-hander. And onto the straightaway we go, our pretty much last chance to make a pass here on Norris. As we head down the straightaway, a lot of DRS in overtake on the ERS, and we're going to look to the right-hand side, and we would make the pass on Norris. And at this point, Valtteri Bottas came out of the final corner. He would come through to get win number 1 on the season there, as Charles Leclerc would also come through to get 2nd place now, as we would be holding on to that 8th position in front of Norris now, as we make a great pass on him into the hairpin now as we came down towards the last sector of this course now into the penultimate corner just in front of Norris, down into the last corner. 8th is really a common finish for us this season, and once again we're going to come through to get P8 here in the German Grand Prix.
Good job, you did really well. Super driving.
Yet another historic win under their belts. Well done to the team at Mercedes. Talk to me, Ant. What was it that set them apart from the competition today?
I think a large part of the result comes down to temperament. They were able to keep their heads when everyone around them was losing theirs, and that's allowed them to get the best out of the car, to maximise the strategy, and to stay out of trouble.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot, a well-earned victory for Mercedes.
Another solid performance here in the German Grand Prix. We once again beat our teammate of Roman Grosjean. He out-qualified us, but we out-raced him and continue to beat him now as Valtteri Bottas gets win number 1 on the season. Hamilton now has a 44-point lead over 2nd place of Sebastian Vettel. So Vettel has some work to do. He's got to make something happen here if he wants a chance to run down Hamilton and win his 5th driver's title now, as Leclerc, he had a solid 2nd place finish, gaining some points now. So as always, though, if you guys guys enjoyed this episode, make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Those would all be very appreciated. Our rep with Ferrari went up just a little bit. I want the reputation to be at least halfway if we want to make a move to Ferrari next season. So that's going to be a tough one to do. We're going to have to impress quite a bit in this final half of the season because we're about, I think now halfway through the season after Germany. So next one is going to be Hungary, a track that I struggle at quite a bit, so we're going to see how that one goes. Hopefully we can have a solid run. Usually, or not say usually, but I don't really expect to be getting like an 8th to 9th place finish. I'm thinking we're probably going to be like a 12th place car or something there, but we'll see how that one goes. Obviously there, as you see there on the screen, Red Bull did overtake Ferrari like I mentioned earlier, as we do make some more R&D upgrades here. Hopefully they will be successful in the coming episodes there, as we are now 16 points ahead of our teammate Roman Grosjean. So that'll do it for this episode, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching, everybody, and have yourselves a great day.